from struggle, still standing.
Welcome to another video. Welcome to the Grit Tribe. I want to share with you the story of my boss when I was in China. This story took place in the province of Anhui and in the city of Bengbu. So from Bengbu, there is a district that is called Wuhe. I think it's like 45 minutes to 1 hour drive from the city of Bengbu. So while I was student there in China, I was also teaching English in kindergartens, in primary schools, and that's how I met Mr. Leo. Mr. Leo because all the Chinese have English names. So his story is interesting, and if you think you are behind in life, please stick around and listen to this story. When I met him, he was around 68 to 70 years old. We become like friends, even though there is a huge age gap, but we were always like hanging out together, going out. He was born in rural China. So for context, rural China, that time, there was even hunger in China during that time when he was born, when he was a kid. Boys were more privileged compared to women. Let me explain. So in a family, when the woman get pregnant, all the family members would wish that let it be a boy. The reason behind it is that we are talking about rural China. So when they have a boy, they see it like, okay, we have extra hand, extra labor force in order to produce more, in order to achieve more. So his parents were growing rice. So they have like a rice field and all that. So they were farming. When he was born, he was a great source of joy for his family. He was born with infantile disease. Even at the age of 5, he couldn't walk. Even to speak, he was like stuttering, and he was crawling till the age of 5, while other kids were already walking, running. Quickly, he became a source of disappointment for his parents, and in the village, he became a subject of mockery. The kids are laughing at him. The adults are talking about him. He's like the main topic in the village. No one was expecting anything from him, you know. He was just there. He was not in people's plan. So literally, his parents took him to another family. They swapped him to get a girl. Like at least the girl can do some activities, help in the kitchen and stuff like that. Because they see him as useless. So around 7 or 8, he was able to start standing with difficulty, with pain, but little by little, one step after another, he was able to walk. Remember, he couldn't walk, he couldn't speak properly. So that means no education. So he couldn't read and he couldn't also write his name. While the other kids were already going to school, he was there doing nothing because he couldn't speak properly and he couldn't also walk. When finally, around 10, 12, he could walk, he didn't want to go to school. So he was just helping like the parents in the field. Fast forward 10, 12 years with lot of pain, with lot of perseverance, he was able to start walking and then help with farming and all that, help with the animals that they have to take care of, they are keeping in the farm. But by the age of 17, 18, Mr. Leo became one of the most successful rice producer in his village. Yeah, one of the most successful. Why? While other people are talking, playing, going to, play football clubs and all that, he was in the field. because there was no one to talk to, because he didn't have friends. People see him as a useless person. They don't see value in him. So he was just there walking alone, quiet, and he became one of the most successful rice producers in his village. Growing up with trauma, growing up as a person who wasn't desired, growing up with shame, being a subject of disappointment, suddenly he started making money. Because when you produce rice and you sell it in that context, during that time in China, you are making money. So when he started making money, of course, money attracts a lot of friends. So he was having friends, and unfortunately for him, he surrounded himself with the cool kids in the village. So those who are like liked by women, they are well dressed, they go to the city all the time, go to business trips, you know, go to the KTV with women and all that. So he joined that club and tried to buy the attention, tried to buy the love that he didn't receive when he was a kid. And that's like psychologically, it makes sense because it's called compensation. So those who are into philosophy or psychology, they will know what I'm talking about. So he tries to buy that what he was lacking. And life is tough, man. That led him to surround himself with the bad crowd. So spending his money, drinking alcohol, looking for women, satisfaction in different women, attention from the girls, in the city. And suddenly, of course, money, when you spend it without, if you are not careful, of course, it will finish. So these same people who didn't pay attention to him, they were coming to him, borrowing money right and left, and very quick, the money finished. So now back to the initial state, back to normal. He didn't have money anymore, and then all the friends suddenly disappeared. One more time, he became a subject of mockery. He couldn't bear all the mockeries, all the talking anymore. Imagine that when you pass somewhere, everyone was talking about you behind you. You are in the mouth of everyone in the village. Of course, at some point, you will say, oh, enough is enough. He tried many times to commit suicide by drinking pills and all that. But finally, someone will always find him and they save him. So he told me the last attempt that he did when they rescued him and they took him to the hospital, he said, I only have two choices. It's either I die or I get out of this village. So his last money, 500 yuan, he took his backpack, and then bought his train ticket and head to Shanghai. Imagine a village boy with no contact, no connection, nothing, arriving in Shanghai. Shanghai is a big city. Shanghai is very big. I'm telling you, I have been there many times. Shanghai is very big. And of course, rural life and city life, it's not the same. So if you don't have the codes, you will suffer. Now imagine having no relatives, no one. So he just arrived in Shanghai, sleeping on the street, and then asking uh, those who are passing around where he can find restaurants if they are looking for fuyuan. Fuyuan in Chinese means someone, it's a waiter or waitress, fuyuan. So he went to the restaurant, and finally one restaurant decided to give a chance. So he started working with them. He doesn't have a place to sleep. He doesn't have money to feed himself. So he said every day they have the Chinese bread, mantou. That's the word in Chinese, mantou. There is mantou, there is jiaozi, that's dumplings, and there is baozi. That's what he would buy, eat, and then sleep. He was sleeping on the street, covering himself with the boxes that he got from the restaurant. Once he proved himself at the restaurant, they took him permanently, and then they gave him, he with his other friends, There is something in China they call sushi. So he was living in the sushi with 4 or 5 different other people, sometimes even 10 people sharing one bedroom. He worked in that restaurant for 10 years. Then suddenly the restaurant couldn't keep up. There was like a management problem, and then they were not making a lot of profit. And the owner of the restaurant decided to sell. Since they were sharing rooms together with the other workers, so their money, they are not really spending it. They decided with his other friends, so 5 of them, they decided like, okay, why not buy the restaurant, take over and manage it properly. That's one thing that I like about Chinese. They can easily work together. They put their strength together and then they bought the restaurant. In the matter of 5 years, they were able to have 5 restaurants. And finally, when you make money, at some point, money is split. Even friends, from the profit they made from the restaurant, they decided to associate and open a Bingwan. Bingwan is like a hotel. The hotel was profitable, but then suddenly he sees that he has money, but he has no joy. He's not happy. So he decided to go back to his village. And remember, that's the promise that he made to himself. So he decided to go back to his village. Now he went back to his village. And remember, he became a hotel owner. So there is money. And since he couldn't read and couldn't write, and that was the subject of mockery, he decided to open a school in his village to allow the village kids to have education. That's how he opened the kindergarten. He opened also the primary school. And in that village, I was there. That's where I was teaching. By far, it was the biggest and most modern kindergarten in that village, with cameras, with the koi fish, everything. The kids, they have like good, nice field, natural grass that they can play football. They have the swings. They have like complete playground, like it is the case in places like Shanghai. One day we were eating, and I asked him, why not stay in Shanghai? Why not go to the big city, continue to do business and make more money and stuff like that? Then he said, yeah, at some point I will understand also that in life, it's not about how much you are making, but it's how you are living. So he said what makes him happy at his age is that he has a son, and that son is now studying in the US. That's the primary source of joy for him. And secondly, when he's in the school, he doesn't have to be in the school, but every day that we go to teach, because it's our job, right? He will be there playing with the kids, seeing these kids having this opportunity. They can read. They have even foreigners like me to come and teach them English. That's the greatest source of joy for his life, because he didn't have that when he was a kid. And now, because of him, the kids from the village have that possibility. This thing means more than money for him. One day I saw a scar in his hand, and I asked him, what is it and where he got the scar from? And he told me, you see this scar? That's my identity. I said, how? What do you mean? The scar cannot be your identity. He said, when he was working in the restaurant in Shanghai, when he was broke, he got burned. And he said, I do have the money to go and do surgery and remove the scar, or I can put some product and then remove it. But no, every time that I touch this scar, it reminds me of the journey that I have made to be who I am today. And I will cherish this scar forever. And this is the message that I want to share with you guys. Yes, life is unfair. We don't all start like at the same line. Some start with more, some start with less, some start with nothing. But that's life. But that's not reason enough for you to give up. That's the community. Just people, working men and women who refuse to give up. So that's what I wanted to share with you. Thank you very much. And please don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment if you are part of this community. Share with someone. Maybe it will motivate a person who's going through tough times, someone who's struggling to pay the bills. I think of all the single moms out there taking care of their children by themselves. So it's not about how much you are making per month. No, it's about how you are living life. And that's why I will always, always remind you guys, on your way to where you want to be, please don't forget to be happy. Thank you very much and see you on the next one.